Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Can people hear me now? Check 1 2, check 1 2. Oh great, you can hear me. Very good. Hot mic, yes. Sorry everyone, it's first time streaming really. It's a new thing for me, so still getting the hang of it and trying to get my head around exactly how it works and how I can work on this and see what everybody is saying at the same time. So I've kind of got, oh, I should probably switch the stream on, shouldn't I? There we go. So I've got this going and the phone balanced in front of me so I can see everybody talking at the same time. And you should see the live stream pop up very soon, if not already. There it is. So yeah, this is the first episode I'm working on of For the Empire Season 2. And as you can see, trying something a little bit different in terms of an environment. Thought I'd go for grungy industrial city this time, which is a bit of fun, a bit different. So as you can see in these environments, you can or you can't hear me. Before people were saying they could hear me, now somebody says they can't hear me. Okay. So I was just saying that these environments for these short films, they're very much what you need to see. Is that better? I'll get a little closer to the microphone. They're very much what you need to see in terms of what the environment is. So it's kind of like a film set in that way, where if you're not going to see the back of these buildings, then there's no point in detailing, modeling, or placing environments and characters into those places. So as you've noticed from a lot of these For the Empire stuff, it's reasonably static. So this is all kind of going to take place on this street corner here with our two heroes having a chat in the rain. Again, they seem to get caught in the rain a lot. And I've taken most of the time in detailing this particular environment with models from various places. Oh, holy crap. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Frank Ray. That's a very, very generous donation. Oh yes, the Jedi Street Preachers. Oh my god. I have been questioning my decisions regarding the Jedi Street Preachers because I've been bleeding subscribers a little bit since I put that up. I just thought it was something fun we did literally decades ago that I wanted to share, and I hope I didn't offend too many people with it. So I thought I'd better go back to something nice and safe like Stormtroopers. So anyway, I was just going to start animating this scene. It's just like, I try and do like one shot a day, maybe two, maybe three if I'm lucky, depending on the simplicities of the scene. So I'm going to try and get the beginnings of one shot here. So I don't know how many people here are watching just because they're interested in the show, or how many people are watching because they're keen to learn more about how Unreal works and the behind the scenes of the technical side. So I'm not going to go too much into technicals, but you may notice that some of these animations, which I get from a site called Mixamo, a lot of the time, they come in a little broken. So on the wrist here, oops, I'll slow down the camera a little bit. On the wrists here, for some reason they come in really twisted. So oftentimes I have to clean them up a little bit, and that takes a little bit of time. So at the moment we just have these two guys both reasonably in sync. So that's the basic animation that comes from Mixamo, just like an idle rifle. So build on top of that to create our performances based on the audio track. Now I've muted the audio track because, you know, I don't want to give away the plot and the story and the jokes ahead of time. So I've hopefully kind of memorized exactly what's happening in this little clip that I'm going to be doing. So that's this trooper talking to this guy. I'm not going to even say who is who at this point. But yeah, so we take our camera, we set up our shot, find a nice focus, so check focus. It really is like filmmaking in this sense. You know, a lot of the basics are the same. And when you get past the technical side of things, once you get over those hurdles, this is just a really fun program to use because it's so, I keep saying it over and over again, it's so freeing, it's so liberating what you can do in Unreal. Sorry, what was that? Your opinion on my idea of having the young trooper dating the undercover rebel sniper? Anything's possible. Yeah, will there be romance in the future for these troopers? I don't know. Do stormtroopers have boyfriends and girlfriends? Or is that forbidden? So I've broken this animation for this character down into its individual keyframes, so I can tweak it a lot more, put a lot more refinement to it. So the first thing I usually do is delete all the keyframes for the head. So now when we play that back, I'm just going to lower the quality just a little bit so it doesn't start chugging with everything else that's going on. So now turns his shoulders still, but doesn't turn his head. So now what I can do is add some keyframes for that head. I'm just going to try and match it up to the audio up here. So there's a big exclamation there. So this is interesting. I'm not used to working with people watching. It's kind of intimidating. Oh, thank you, BW. Thank you very much. That's very generous. Where's all my widgets gone? There they are. So yeah, as you can see, these this scrolling down the bottom here, that's all the things I can control in the skeleton. Every single finger, spine, head, neck. Try not to get into the hands too much because that can be fiddly. So there, a little flick of the head. Oh, and this is also Unreal 5.1. So I'm still getting the hang of this new version as well, but it does seem like the lighting in general the quality is a lot better. And also, hang on, I just need to show any budding filmmakers in the audience something that's really, really cool. If I go out of focus for a moment, it's an anamorphic lens. See how those highlights in the background go oval shaped? That's what's called anamorphic, which us filmmakers love the look of. And you can pay literally thousands of dollars for a lens that does that, and here it is doing it for free in Unreal. Yeah, where was I? Oh yes, making flicks his head up. So I think the trick to making these characters seem alive is that although singing in the rain, that's a good idea. Don't know if I'd get around the copyright on that. Although they're reasonably still, they're never completely still. There's always just a little bit of life to them. And sometimes it can be a very subtle thing, like just the slightest tilt of the head. Do I have a special keyboard? No, just a regular gaming keyboard. In fact, I need to replace it because my H key is playing up. I don't know why the H key is playing up, but it is. So it's just a regular keyboard that came with the computer. Unreal is absolutely a free download. Unreal is free. I think the fact is that Epic Games is making so much money that they can afford to give it away, because all the big studios that make their AAA games on it, they'll be making millions and millions of dollars off that. So they're actually reasonably generous with what they are providing. And if I could show you something else just while I've got this going live, I'll show you what else is free. This is absolutely amazing. Quixel content is just built into Unreal. You just click on it and you can get these collections of assets, all these 3D assets, which you can just drag and drop into your environments. And the amount of things on here is just incredible. What you can build, what you can make before you even start going out of Epic and looking into, you know, external 3D sites. And it's so easy. It's so easy to do. Like I say, once you get your heads around that initial difficulty ladder of knowing what's happening in Unreal and how it works, it becomes just fun to work with. So I'm going to open up the keyframes for this guy as well. What I will say about Unreal though is it does need a pretty grunty computer to run it in a decent way. It's quite an intensive piece of software, as you can probably see just by looking at the scene, everything that's going on. These high res dudes in the rain, which is, you know, continuously falling, it's tracking all that, plus all the reflections, everything else that's going on in the background. So I did invest in a new computer just specifically for working on Unreal, but it wasn't a bank breaker, it was just a reasonably priced gaming computer. Yeah, and it's working pretty well. I mean, I can run, oftentimes I'm a bit bad and I run Unreal and Character Creator and Premiere all at the same time, which I probably shouldn't do, but it does it, and until I forget and it does start to slow down and then I have to close a few things. What kind of specs are needed to run? Hang on, let's look at the side of my computer. GeoForce 3070 RTX. Is that? I'm not a techie guy. I just looked this up on the Epic Games website, and they suggested the bare minimum. And you know, this, like I said, this runs it pretty well. I'm not complaining too much. In fact, I'm not complaining at all. It works really well. I mean, Unreal does crash a lot in terms of a piece of software, but it's not like game-changing crashes. You know, it doesn't. I've never lost a project, let's say, fingers crossed, touch wood, because it's crashed. It just crashes and then you restart it, and you're fine. And oh my god, thank you so much, Chris Seaford. How long does it take to complete a full episode? How long? How long is a piece of string? For an example, the Christmas episode I did recently was written, or conceived, written, recorded, animated, and uploaded pretty much all in the same day. It took me one day to do that. And that is because, you know, I had a lot of things on hand. I've already got the trooper models, I had the backgrounds, I had the set. Symbols on the back of their armor. Sorry, I got a little distracted. I always thought it was oil. I always thought stormtroopers were robots when I was a kid, and I thought it said oil. Yeah, sorry, coming back to the initial question, how long does it take? It takes... I mean, the walker, the troopers in the walker, that took quite a long time because it was a longer episode. Because there were a lot of troopers in the same place, I had to try and make sure that you know, they were all had a little bit of life. And there are, if you go back and watch it again, there are a couple of shots where I actually forgot to animate a trooper. Embarrassingly, there's one in the very, very first shot, and I'm not going to tell you which one it is, but he's just there standing there in the default position, so that's really embarrassing. So, sorry, that's a very long-winded answer to your question. Anywhere from a month, which is what I'm hoping to get this one out in, to 3 months, depending on what else is going on in my life as well. Do a build in 4K or 1080. I mean, Unreal it's kind of like something like Adobe Illustrator, I guess, in that sense that it can render out whatever you want it to render out in. For these, I'm just working in Quad HD, which is like one step up from regular 1080. Just because, yeah, 4K does tend to slow things down a little bit. But, you know, if I do manage to upgrade in the future, maybe I'll start working exclusively in 4K. But at the moment, I think these look pretty good. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I'm just moving this head around without really any concept of what I'm doing. But it is a little hard to animate without actually hearing what they're saying, but I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. Yeah, hang on. So yeah, if you look at their backs, I thought that said oil. Because like I said, I thought they were robots when I was a kid. And I thought that's where the oil went. So I've got about at least another 5 episodes storylined in my head. Some of them are already written. So yeah, the second season should be at least as long as the first, and hopefully, if we can keep the ideas coming, hopefully a little bit longer. So once you finish all the body movements with one trooper, can I duplicate it? Sorry, just got to scroll up a bit because that went off my screen. To save time. Yeah, so once you've done, say for example, if I've done this guy, if I've finished and happy with that animation, I can, where is it, bake animation sequence, and that will export it as its own animation, which will then appear in my content folder, and I can drag and drop that onto any other character that shares the same skeleton. So that's one thing that I did learn very early on about Unreal, is that not all characters are built the same. All these characters have what's called Mixamo skeletons, which is the free website for where I source a lot of my animations. Unreal default characters have different skeletons again. The character creator, they have different skeletons again. So I can't just take whatever animation I hear and load it onto a character creator character, because it wouldn't work. Like in the previous, the Close Encounter, for example, that was 2 troopers who were Mixamo skeletons versus 2 rebel troopers who were character creator skeletons. And they couldn't share animations, which is a little annoying sometimes because you do have to have distinct and separate folders for every single one, but that's just how it works. There's no one skeleton for every single character yet. Maybe there will be in the future. Maybe they'll settle down. Yeah, thanks, Mark. We're having a lot of fun with these. Um, most of the fun is just trying to think about what these guys would do in their downtime. You know, a stormtrooper's not always stormtrooping. They presumably have lives. They chat. They eat. They go to the toilet. Um, you know, what do they do when they're not fighting the rebels? What do they do what do they talk about when they're just standing on street corners like this, guarding, you know, God knows what? And you know, I think the potential is reasonably endless, to be honest, because there's so many aspects of the Star Wars universe that are reasonably unexplored. Yeah, a lot of people have asked Carl for prequel stuff. Um, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying a flat no. I am a OG guy, I guess you could say. I grew up with the original trilogy, so that's kind of it is more my thing, and I'm not as familiar with the prequel area, but I could certainly look into it. Yeah, because as you say, our older guy, he would have signed up in that era and grown up through that era, and it certainly would make sense to yeah, do a backstory. That could be fun. What am I doing? I'm changing his shoulder. So yeah, this is an example of what I was saying, is how you can see the little kind of a twist on the shoulder bell there. Like early on in these I wasn't quite so fussy, but now I do try to straighten them out a little bit so they don't look quite as obvious that the armor's not working like Stormtrooper armor should. So there's yeah, there's a reasonable amount of cleanup before these shots are ready to render out. And then yeah, it's kind of like puppeteering. It really is. The tricky part is once you do start altering the animations, you've got to make sure that there's not too much floating around of the hands like this and passing through the guns, which sometimes I also miss, and that goes out on live on YouTube, and that's embarrassing too. What am I doing? Hand, changing the hand, getting rid of that twisted hand. So this particular episode is called The New Guy, and I will let you take from that what you will. That's all I'm going to give you. It's called The New Guy, and it's set on a street corner in the rain. Oops. Where is the left hand? There it is. wrong left hand. I got the wrong left hand. That's the other problem when you have two characters with the same name, same skeletons, that sometimes you start adjusting the wrong one. Yes, I have adjusted the wrong one. So that's detwisted that arm. A scout trooper, yeah. No, we haven't seen a scout trooper. And I mean, technically we haven't even, story-wise, we haven't even made it out of the end of Empire yet, so there's plenty of time. That's not even allowing for flashbacks, as we said. And sometimes when I'm feeling really lazy, I might just try and frame out the hand just like that, so I don't have to worry about it too much, you know. It's not a crucial piece of the animation, so if I can just frame it out and not have to build it, then why not? So to add a little bit more life to the scene, I've also been playing with things like this, where I've got my collection of lights, which I can drop into my sequencer as well. Where did that go? I really need to invest in 2 screens. I'm only working on 1 screen at the moment, and it does get a little crowded. So I'm just going to zoom right out, see where everything is. Okay, so here's my light over here, so I'm just going to set my initial point for the light, like so. I'm going to set a secondary point for the light, like so. And now that light will fly through scene, like a Blade Runner type skimmer. And if we have a look at that in camera, oops, camera, we get that kind of effect. So that's nice too, and we can adjust the intensity of that light as well a little bit if it's too bright. So that just adds a little bit of life to the scene. And I've got another character in the background here, which is a C-3PO or a protocol droid. Twi'leks, yeah. Twi'leks would be hard with those Leku wobbling around all over the place. I'm not sure how I would how I'd actually animate those unless they're tucked away. What am I doing? Oh yeah, animation. So he's got a basic walk. So once again, I'm just going to save in case everything goes horribly wrong. There we go. So it's going to give him an initial starting position inside this tunnel here. Get to the end. So he gets to about there, and see there's a bit of guesswork involved in trying to time the walk so his feet don't slide around too much. You can offer a highly detailed R2-D2. Oh. Please, by all means. I would love to have an encounter with a highly detailed R2 unit. So on camera. Keep getting the wrong camera. So his reflections look a little odd. I will play with that later. But that's the basic idea of how we can get some action going on in the background. These guys should be animated, but they're not at the moment, so they're also just kind of just generally talking. A modeler since 91. Wow, old school. What were you working in 91? What software existed back then? Clay. Lightwave. Oh yeah, Lightwave was used for was it Voyager and Babylon 5? Is it Babylon 5? They used Lightwave back in the day. You know, shameful confession, I've never watched Babylon 5. That's terrible of me, I know, because I keep hearing about how good it was. And DS9. Wow. I feel like you should be doing the live stream and telling us about working on those amazing shows. And what do you think about the current state of 3D in terms of how I keep wanting to say democratized it's become, and how much easier it has become to make things like this? Do you feel like it's a good thing, or do you feel like it's taking away a little bit from, you know, experts such as yourself who are used to modeling everything from scratch and doing it old school? I'm just going to put a little bit of a camera shake on. I know, I need to watch Babylon 5. It's been on my to-do list for quite a while. So a little bit of camera shake gives a bit more life to that shot, and also, I mean, just because we can, I mean, in the real world, doing a track is, you know, quite a thing, but here it's just a matter of set one keyframe, set two keyframes, and boom, you've got a little bit of a track. Amazing. Amazing. Did you watch the Red versus Blue? Yes, I did watch Red versus Blue. It wasn't the inspiration for this. I know so many people have said that this reminds me of Red versus Blue, and you know, I can totally see that now. But initially, this was kind of like, hey, I've come to a certain stage of my knowledge in Unreal, and I feel like I can actually make something now. And Stormtroopers are easy because you can't see them talk, and I like Star Wars. And I just had the idea for this guy on his first day. That was literally my thought process, and here we are now. It's just taken off, which I'm so grateful for. I have heard very, very disturbing stories about the state of the VFX industry all over the world, and you know, and how people have worked so hard, and that's why I always feel bad when people trash the effects of, you know, a particular movie or a particular TV show and say, oh, it looks like shit, it looks like crap, it's not very good VFX, because these guys, they're, you know, a lot of the time I'm guessing they're not doing their best work. They're under the hammer, and they're just doing what they can because they're probably been given such massive workloads. So yeah, I try not to badmouth any CG I see on like big budget Disney or Marvel or whatever movies, because those are the guys in the trenches who are doing that. Oh, you're an astromech builder. I'm an astromech builder. I built my astromech. I've got a full-size R2D2 in the room here. I built him old school with plywood and plastic. But I know a lot of people are 3D printing them nowadays. So this shot's getting pretty close to done, but oh, thank you, Raymond. Sorry, I just missed that compliment there. I'll probably call this a day on this live stream, and thank you all for watching. Thank you very much for the generous donators. Like I say, I hope to get this thing out within the month, if not just early in February. It's a reasonably straightforward one. I think it's a pretty funny one. Hopefully they're all funny. And yeah, we'll lead into season 2 of For the Empire. So once again, thank you everyone for watching, and we'll talk again shortly.